Welcome to Tellypathic, your visit to the world of episodic telly with a strong backbone of Star Trek. We are your two hosts who are mad about telly, Mark and Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hey Mark, how's it going, man? All right.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So this is a bit of an unusual one. I have been going backwards through time, really,
Yeah, yeah, you have.
to suggest something that I used to watch as a kid, really liked, and I just thought, I wonder if it'll stand up. I think it will. I remember it quite distinctly, but while watching things as a child is not the same as watching them as an adult, are they? Sometimes it can
True.
be quite, it can be sometimes wonderful because it's as good as you remember it, and sometimes it's like, oh dear, what was I thinking? Um, but we are covering the pilot episode of a series from started in 1972, run for seasons from 72 to 74, called Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Had you heard of this before I even talked to you about it?
So when you because you talk about it, when you were talking about, oh yeah, let's watch an episode of Kung Fu. I didn't know what you meant. I didn't know it by name. However,
Yeah.
as soon as I started watching it, I was like, "That's David Carradine."
Yes.
I knew exactly what we were talking about.
Right, right.
I'm aware of the show,
Yes.
and its many cultural references that it gets.
Oh, indeed, Grasshopper. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And the Tarantino stuff, all of that stuff, it all sort of, it hit me like a flashbang.
Oh, of course, because he references Kung Fu a bit in Kill Bill, doesn't
Quite
he?
a
When
lot, yeah.
he's playing
So
the flute. I mean, he doesn't. He doesn't play the flute in this pilot, does he? But he does in the series, right?
yeah, that's right. So
But
yeah,
there is
exactly.
flute music in the background, isn't there? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so I haven't seen it. I've never watched it, but the sort of cultural references I knew of the show, I knew that it existed. But yeah, I've never seen it before. This is the
Yeah,
first time
there's a
watching.
few shows I remember as a kid where the kids went just mental over a show, right?
Hmm.
Kung Fu was one of them. Then it was like the $6 Million Man. Then it was the Incredible Hulk. Then it was things like Monkey and the A Team, right? Just kids go insane about certain shows, right?
Right.
And the earliest one I remember it being in that thing is when I was of our age to be there when it landed is Kung Fu. Because
Right.
I mean, we love this. I collected trading cards, and we'd be doing the moves without knowing anything about Kung Fu. But having said that, watching this, they didn't really know about Kung Fu either,
No.
frankly. Some of them anyway. Certainly David Carradine. However, it just landed really hard as a cultural thing. And you, like you say, some of the cultural touchstones. Grasshopper was used for decades until Star Wars overtook it with Padawan
Mm.
and My Young Apprentice and all that, right? But before that, if you had someone who was kind of learning something and you wanted to calm down, I'll show you how to do this. Grasshopper.
Yeah.
That was just a word people use for that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah. I feel
So,
like maybe Karate Kid stole a bit of that.
yes, there
Um,
is a bit of that. Yeah.
it sort of
Definitely.
reignited it. But yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And so I mean, we're gonna spoil this. What is it? 50-odd-year-old show. But let's get the high level view. What did you think of it generally? Did it land?
It did land. Yeah, I think it still holds up. It's like a little, I'd say like a little slower pace than
Yeah,
like what a modern audience is sort of looking for. But
yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought
yeah,
it held up as almost as two things. It held up as a kung fu kind of Shaolin. Um, what am I looking for? What's the word
Well,
I'm
it was
looking
it
for
was
there?
an interesting insight into. Well, the thing is, I think watching
Cultural, yeah,
yeah
that's right. Yeah,
watching as a kid, it was like wow, see the Shaolin Temple, what they do, and now
yeah,
it's like wow, I'm looking at American interpretation from the '70s of what the Shaolin Temple
yeah,
could do.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it did that pretty well. I thought that was fine, and then the Western side of things. I feel like it wanted to be a Western more than anything, which obviously it's an American thing. So
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
70s. So,
Yeah,
you
and a
know,
touch of the not spaghetti western because it wasn't that rough. It had a kind of different. I mean, western shows were still quite popular in America at this time.
yeah,
Another famous, there was like Gunsmoke and Bonanza, and there's all of those ones. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but there was loads. And
yeah,
around this time, there's one called Alias Smith and Jones, which is kind of a kind of riff on almost like a TV version of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid kind of thing,
right,
right?
right.
So that was a thing, that was happening, and Kung Fu kind of drew from that, and also there was a massive interest in martial arts. Bruce Lee really precipitated this
Yeah,
massive interest in martial arts, and there is some debate about did Bruce Lee actually come up with this idea and was it stolen? Because Bruce Lee occasionally said things, I actually thought of this. There was I had this series in my head. I played the lead, Wandering the Old West, and he wanted to call it The Warrior. And, but there was also people independently said, we came up with this. I know about network telly. They often steal each other's ideas or
mm,
steal ideas from people. So, it's difficult to say, really. Um, but
yeah,
yeah, it's tricky to say. There was a touch on. There's a slightly touchy subject around this. In the lead is supposed to be half Chinese, and he isn't. Right? He's
mm,
Caucasian. Um, Apparently there was an Asian. I can't remember the name of the actual organization, but like an Asian Actors Guild in America, and they were
yeah,
a bit up in arms about this because because various people auditioned for the lead, including Bruce Lee and George Takei. Mr. Sulu
yeah,
auditioned for the lead in this, but it didn't work out. However, they were tempered somewhat because as the series proceeded, it gave a lot of work to Asian actors in America. There was a lot of appearances um, so they kind of, okay, at least there's some work coming out of this. We're not
mm.
being cut out in any way. So
Yeah. I did think it was
it's
interesting.
tricky.
I just put that down to the 70s.
Yeah, it is the 70s.
Because
Oh, it definitely is the
yeah,
70s. But yes, so there was a bit of that, but I'm glad to say it wasn't an entirely unhappy experience for the Asian Actors Guild and its members, in terms of what it brought for them. But I could, totally understand. Totally understand.
yeah, because it's
Um,
like in the Last Samurai, where it's like we've taken a Western man who is in his like 20s or something, right? And then they drop him into the middle of like traditional samurai culture,
yeah,
and he sort of sees the difference in cultures and he learns about different, right? And that's like a learning process.
yeah,
This is a bit different in that you've got a young boy who we know almost nothing about. And he says, his parents are dead, and the Shaolin monks sort of raise him, right?
yeah, they
So
do.
he is in effect, he is essentially a Chinese Shaolin monk, right?
Yeah,
So it makes like it's not added anything to the story that he's a Western or a foreigner in any sort of way.
no.
So yeah, it's kind of an odd choice, and like yeah, I guess 70s, right? This
Yeah,
is
it's the 70s. The thing is, you mentioned Karate Kid. That is spot on. This is kind of an earlier iteration of what we get in the Karate Kid, like the whole education and seeing someone learning and learning about themselves as well as learning these skills, right? Um, there's a lot of that. I mean, more than half the episode is flashbacks, isn't it? Of him as a
yeah,
child and a young man learning the skills. And I have to say, I remember as a kid being absolutely mesmerized by all this, right?
yeah,
And the series carries it on too. The series carries it on. And I have to say, watching the series, watching this pilot, man, there's great sets here and stuff like that, man. The
hmm,
temple is kind of amazing. The stuff they do, all those candles and the rice paper and the gardens. I really think they did a good job with this in
yeah,
terms of working out how to do the setting, and I liked how respectful it was as well. Though I say that, I don't know how real any of it. I don't know
I
if Shaolin
assume
monks
it's
walked
nothing
on rice
like it at
paper
all.
and pick up buckets of coal with their hands, with their arms and things like that. I have no idea, not a clue.
Yeah.
But the iconography of the show is terrific. It's quite memorable and striking. I can see why this was a pilot really drew people in and why then a series got made of it. It's kind of obvious. It's like, well, if you ain't going to make a series out of that, you're not going to make a series out of anything, are you? Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Like we have to review it on the merits of what we're watching, right? Like we're not
yeah.
looking at this from like a historic review perspective. Like
No,
me or you, we don't know
it
anything
is
about this
the
stuff, right?
viewing experience. It's just it makes you quite wonder how real. Is that really what it was like? Or okay, it isn't, but how good is it as a piece of entertainment? Say, right?
Yeah, and for a child, I think it's enough. Even as adults, right? It's enough to pique your curiosity about that culture, right? And look into it yourself. I
Yeah,
think I think you could definitely see us like someone going, man, that was really cool. Let me learn more about this culture I might not have otherwise known about. I think for that it does a good job. Like you say, it's respectful in that sense. It's not showing
yeah.
off the
I,
you
th-
know
I think a lot of the lines from this and other lines in the later TV series are lifted from sort of various things like the books on Taoist books. The
right.
original books of educational books or religious books. Just reusing those words. So is that respectful? Or I don't know. I don't know.
Who
Probably.
knows?
Somewhat, somewhat. But yeah. Oh well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let's start getting into it. Well, Carradine was an interesting choice though because he does play it as almost like a blank slate kind of character when he's in the Old West, right? And sometimes
Yes.
it's like, does he not understand because he doesn't follow English? But he just listens. He listens a lot, doesn't he? Um,
Yeah, I didn't know whether that was like a visual choice, like a stylistic choice or not. Like there was often times where he was quiet or he was just looking, and like from an outsider looking in, he looks absent-minded, like he looks daft, right? And some characters even call it out on that. So I'm like, oh, is this on purpose?
yeah,
Um, and it turns out it is, right?
yeah,
But it wasn't immediately obvious when I first was watching,
yeah.
which
Because he
is maybe
just says
fine.
nothing, does he? He
Yeah,
says nothing. Um,
but like he doesn't, like you say, there's nothing really to grab onto in terms of his character. Like it's probably I enjoyed the flashbacks about his character and him sort of learning, but like he goes from such extremes, right? He's for everything we see, he's the most patient monk that you can be
yeah.
at a level of master, right? And then he's like straight to murder,
Oh yeah,
and
man. And
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 and that is kind of they're completely opposites, right?
yeah,
So for me, I guess the show has to fill in that gap of like, all right, why is there a psycho underneath the monk, right? And I don't think I'm gonna get it. Like the show doesn't seem to be. I don't think it's gonna touch that. Um,
No, I mean his
yeah,
character stays fairly constant throughout all of the seasons. The only thing I will say is David Carradine didn't know kung fu, or he had a very basic knowledge of martial arts. He actually
yeah.
did learn it as the show went on, so the action scenes got more realistic in terms of him doing the moves, right?
Oh, really? Oh,
Rather
well, that's
than
good.
doing fast
The
edit, which
cuts.
which is what they do
Yeah,
in here, right?
yeah,
I've got to make a shout out to his young version, played by an actor, and I might be butchering this name, Radames Pera. Radames Pera as the young Kane. I thought he was really good as a child actor. Actually, it
yeah.
worked for me. And interestingly, we do get one tiny shot of a grown-up Kane, but not Carradine. An intermediate
Hmm.
one, and that's played by his brother Keith Carradine.
Oh, right. That's
It's
cool.
kind of interesting. But it's, I think, one scene only. I
Hmm.
don't know why they bothered because they had Carradine in all the others.
I thought it
acting
was
young.
good. I know
Yeah,
I liked it because
yeah,
I like that progression of like it's been like 20 years where he's been in this
yeah.
temple,
And
right? And they showed that. I
it
thought it was
sets up
good.
some really awesome tropes. And I remember as kids we would try this, snatching pebbles out of each other's hands to see how fast we were. And it's like,
Classic.
try snatch the pebble from my hand. The whole grasshopper business, the rice paper, the um, getting the demo of the friends. In the series, we also see scenes of him having spears thrown at him in this in the Shaolin Temple, and like basically the series continues this what we see here of flashbacks all the time, right?
Mm. Yeah.
It's and Master Po and Master Can. Um, um, in all loads of episodes. So the whole vibe stays, right? That whole because he's always trying to draw on wisdom, what he was
Mhm.
taught in the temple to try and help him resolve solution problems,
No,
right?
and then he ends up killing
And then
people.
he ends up by kicking the shit out of people.
You're
Yeah,
like,
that
what?
is a thing. That is a thing. Peace, 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 peace. Bam. Right.
Except, yeah, peace, peace, peace. Except now it's time to kill.
I feel like the Incredible Hulk owes a lot to Kung Fu in it structurally, in that it's a lone man wandering around helping people, but then hulking out at some point, which is kind of what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, okay, all right. So yeah, Caradine. I have to say, I really like the opening shot. I was really impressed with the opening shot, which is essentially a desert, the skyline of a desert, a man basically standing in front of the sun, right? And a
Mm.
tiny little figure, a right extreme long shot of a tiny figure of him, Kane, standing in front of the sun. But as the camera then pulls away, i.e., gets even longer shot, the figure disappears because the sun's so bright you can't see him anymore. You can only see the rising sun.
Yeah. It was like something out of Dune. It was awesome.
What? Yeah, yeah. What a great shot that was, right? For a
Yeah,
TV show.
that was
Wow.
fantastic. And then
Uh,
the like transition into the flashbacks with the rain as
yeah,
well. Like,
yeah,
man, it was very clever.
yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the direction of the first
It
sequence.
get in very short hat, good short. I mean, whoever came up with the script and put this together really knew their TV shorthand. There was the kid waiting to be accepted at the temple and just waiting and waiting, and the other kids playing games while they're waiting, right? While he
Yeah, or like
just stands
hiding
there
from the
in the
rain.
or hiding in the rain, and he just stands there. And the monk actually says, I suggest, I think you should wait just a bit longer, like giving him
Hmm.
some encouragement, right? Um, and then Master Can takes him in and says, asks him about his heritage, and he says, my father was American, my mother was Chinese, and he makes the point, we've never taken in anyone other than full-blooded Chinese before, but then he just carries on, he just makes that point, but there's no
He says there's a place
bias
for
or
everything.
anything like this.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And they shave his head, and then we keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah, and we're seeing all the tricks that are being set up towards the end. Like try and walk on the rice paper, and the kid walks over the rice paper, and there's little tears, and he goes, "When you can walk on this rice paper." And leave no tears, then your footsteps will be silent. It's kind of funny because later on we see Cade actually succeed and think he's really great, and then he tries to walk silently up to Master Poe, who says, "Hello, grasshopper."
Yeah. Who's
That's
blind,
right.
by the way?
I should have mentioned he is blind. Now, this
Yeah.
character was ridiculed mercilessly in various impression shows. It must be said. Usually
Yeah, of
with
course.
half ping pong balls in their eye. There was a lot
Hmm.
of that. There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
However, I think the actor's great. Actually, he's
Yeah.
really charming and fun and joyful. And the actor was really good portraying all of that. So I like that. Very striking character. Part of the success of the show was the Master Po coming back each week to help Kwai Chang sort of
Yeah.
learn something more about life.
Yeah. I couldn't tell, right? I couldn't tell whether this show was having a little jab at the Shaolin monks a little bit in that,
Really?
like,
I didn't tell
well,
that. Tell me.
so my
Tell me.
interpretation, right? This could be an interpretation, right? Is that you see that these guys have dedicated their lives, right? Poe's must be like in his 50s, 60s. He's not older than that, maybe he's in
Yeah,
his 60s,
60s.
70s,
Yeah,
right? So he's dedicated his life to this, peace
yeah,
and, and finding your inner strength and all this stuff, right? And then some royal guard like walks into him, or he walks into them because he's blind, right? Which again, we've already identified that he's able, almost in a daredevil like way, to like know that people are around him. Anyway, he like crashes into this guard, right?
yeah,
The guard strikes him, and then the guard goes to strike him again, and he like blocks him and he chucks him on the floor and stuff. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Haven't we just spent like the whole episode having flashbacks about you teaching about how the
yeah,
smart man walks away? The smart man doesn't fight back. He doesn't need to fight back. That's a child's game. And then he fights back and dies because of it, right?
yeah.
And I'm
Well,
like, is this having a little jab at
I take it as well. The thing is, he doesn't just fight back. He actually puts him in like a thumb lock, and then
Yeah, he
tries to
fights back,
educate
right?
him.
He
He
fights
says,
back.
even the royal guard shouldn't punish an old blind man twice for the same crime. He
Yeah,
says
yeah,
that,
which
right?
sounds good, but again, he knows what's coming. Like he's an intelligent person. He knows you can't be messing with the royal guard's troops. Like,
Yeah, and but
right?
Kane loses it big time, doesn't he?
Yeah,
We're going
I think
we're
they
jumping
both
right to the
lose it.
end here, by the way. But never
Yeah, I've
mind,
done
it
right to
doesn't
the
matter.
end. Yeah, yeah,
Kane
yeah.
loses
So
it and then apologizes to Master Poe, who is dying anyway, for losing it. And Master Poe just tries to comfort him by saying, "Sometimes you must cut off a finger to save a hand,"
yeah,
which makes no sense in this. He's just
yeah. It's
killed.
for me. It's where it loses the ball with the whole
Yeah.
Shaolin thing. Is
Oh well, they're having their cake and eating it. They're going, "Oh, this is about peace and love, peace and love, peace and love," until you punch someone in the face, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. And
yeah,
for me, it's very difficult. Like, you get this, the Jedi stuff that has come out in the recent times. You can see that they've pulled from, Shaolin teachings and stuff, right? And
yeah,
that again is always a very difficult thing. It's always okay, but when's the violence okay? Why are the Jedi okay with with swords? Like, what are we doing here, right?
yeah.
And the justification for violence to make it an interesting show is like, that's tough. Maybe you should have just avoided it. There's
A
other
bit of
ways
boring
around
show
it,
though.
right?
No one to watch it. That's the thing. You
Okay,
want
but like, let's say
everyone
it's.
watches Kung. Everyone watches the Hulk to watch the Hulk Hell, right? Everyone
I
watches
agree.
Kung Fu.
I just
Watch a
wonder,
bit of
like,
Kung
the
Fu, right?
samurai is got no problem with like sorting business out. A ninja's got no problem. Like, there's other like cultures that are violent
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
could have chosen, but they've specifically chosen
Shaolin.
the
The
Shaolin
Shaolin,
monk.
they were warrior monks. They did get into wars. They fought on in wars. So everyone
Hmm.
knows that they're not all peace and well, not everyone knows, but it's
I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
I was under the impression that it's all about true inner strength and peace and stuff. And that
I mean, I
just
used to do a variant of kung fu called Wing Chun, right, which was specifically designed to fight and beat Shaolin masters, right. So and that was because of
right.
the civil wars in China. There was these monks were not pacifists, but they're presented that way in this, aren't they? Right?
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm just
yeah,
following what the show showed me. I don't know the
yeah,
actual history of stuff. I'm just following the show, and I'm like, you just told me you were supposed to be like super, bow your head. A
yeah,
smart,
yeah.
wise man bows
Yeah,
his head, and walks,
run
and
away
then
if you
and
can.
yeah, and
And
then we're
we
like
do
sort
see
of
a
fighting
scene.
the royal
We
guards.
do
So I'm
see a
like,
cool scene when they've obviously brought in, real kung fu people to do various things while they're doing like talking over some of the teachings, and they're sort of saying things like hurt instead of maiming, maim instead of killing.
mm,
You
all
always
life is
take
precious.
all
Yeah.
life is precious, and stuff like that. And meanwhile, we're seeing all these badasses doing, with the crane moves and the dragon and the tiger and the, various the praying mantis, all these various forms, and they're talking about one man takes a lifetime to master just one of these forms and things like
Mm,
that. So yeah, there's it's kind of reverential in that respect, right? In that respect,
mm.
but we do see that Cain does try to follow a credo of peace. Um, but when shit gets real,
He turns into Rambo.
yeah, yes, he does in quite an effective way as well. And I really liked some of this. I really liked some of this. Right, essentially, he rocks into town, and the barkeep's fairly friendly. He's saying, "Oh, yeah, what do you want to drink?" He goes, "Water," and he gets out a little bag, and the barman thinks it's a person. He says, "Yeah, water's free round here." He goes, "How'd you get it?" He goes, "The desert." He goes, "How'd you do that?" He said, "I walked." And this tickles the barman no end, right? Um,
Yeah, it's like
um,
not possible.
yeah, but there is an older Chinese man sitting on a wagon who sees Kane go into the saloon and like look a bit worried, and he's standing at the doorway trying to attract Kane's attention. And a bloke sitting in the bar throws out a few racial slurs his way. He says, "I don't like." Well, whatever. I'm not going to repeat those
Yeah.
phrases. Um, your type. I don't like your type and stuff like that. But all he was trying to do was try and warn Kane. Kane, meanwhile, is just at the bar. He sprinkles some herbs or something into the water. Is drinking it, and this guy starts throwing his weight around and says, I don't, I know your type and all this stuff. And he goes to sort of intimidate him, but Kay just does some very short moves, knocks him on the floor, barely moves as well. So he's making him look a fool while he's just still drinking the water. He's just drinking the water.
Dude, it's the best line. It's the best line because he knocks him over the first time. Then he stands up and all his mates are laughing at him. And he picks up this chair and he's like pulls it above his head. He's like, "I'm gonna kick your ass, boy!" And I burst out laughing. It was
Yeah,
like something straight out of a western. It was awesome.
yeah, and he
I love that
tries, but
guy.
Kay just blocks it and then kicks
Yeah,
him in the stomach. Flies across the room. So then he pulls a knife out. And Kane just looks at him again, still holding his water, does a sudden kick, and the knife gets stuck into the ceiling, goes boom, into the ceiling. And the
yeah.
bloke just looks sheepish at that point, right? Yeah.
Head just lets him
Uh,
walk out. Yeah.
and he thanks the barman for the water and just walks out.
Again, it's something straight out of like they wanted a Clint Eastwood kind of character, right?
Yeah.
It's just straight out of a western. Like a guy walks into a bar and deals with the local bully. Like
Yeah,
it's
walks out
classic.
again. Walks out again.
Yeah.
And so the older Chinese man sort of says, I was trying to warn you, and he says, and you risked yourself. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
There's a bit of that, right?
And again, is this another evidence that they had sort of written the script for an Asian man? Because David Carradine's a white guy. Like, what would be the problem with him being in there?
Yeah,
And then the guy is saying, "Oh,
yeah.
I don't. You smell it." He's being like, "You
Well, it's
smell
not.
of
Yeah,
that race, right?" And it's like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
okay.
I
Do
think
you know what I mean?
Carradine just about gets away with it because he has got quite an interesting. He's one of those guys, one of those people that you not can't quite place where he might be from. You know what I mean?
Right,
Um,
right.
so he
Yeah, yeah. I guess
just
that's
about
fair.
pass, and the script just dictates. Yeah, he's half Chinese, right?
Yeah, it's like
So
yeah. I
you
guess
just kind of have to go with it, really. And this old fella sort of says, "Oh yeah, we got work and stuff like that. I'm just waiting for like the engineer or the I've forgotten his title, but basically he sorts out the lay of the land. There's a railroad being laid, and he's like the geologist stroke engineer, yeah, and trying to figure out what's going ahead of them, right? He's
yeah.
a fair, friendly kind of bloke, and he kind of says, could he get a job? And he goes, have you warned him what it's like? And Kane just doesn't say anything, right? So he goes, okay. And they ride to the camp, and with Kane in the back, right, of the wagon.
Yep.
And what we do see is a lot of Chinese men working on this railroad, like hard, grueling work, wielding
Yeah.
these hammers to sort of build the railroad track, right?
Which was I know at least a little bit of history that that is actually what happened.
Yeah, it
Right?
did. It did. Yeah.
That was
It
mostly
was quite
built by
common.
essentially Chinese slaves labor.
Yeah, well, it wasn't slaves, but it was indentured servitude kind of thing. They were
Yeah.
paid a pittance to lay this
They
stuff.
were literally paid it like
Yeah,
food, basically,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
was it.
But that also meant they could stay in America as well.
Yeah.
So things like that. Yeah, so the man they go and see the foreman, who's a gruff sort of bloke, but he says, "Yeah, okay, I'll pay you 75 cents a day and give you food." But we find out it's pretty bad food, and they're left out in the cold. One of the things I didn't know if you noticed about the film is the constant wind. Once they're out on that railroad, in the background, you
Mm.
hear a constant wind blowing. It
Yeah.
gives you the feeling it's a chilly place. That's right there in the background. Again, good TV making, film making. Good
Yeah.
technique. Very subtle, but just gives you that feeling of A, isolation, and B, that it must be cold, right? Because
Yeah,
of this
definitely.
constant wind. Um,
Yeah, it was good.
uh,
My only criticism on that stuff was I wish they had shown how grueling the work was a bit more. Like any time that they showed that the work was difficult, it was just like a person hitting the rail with a pickaxe for like no reason.
yeah.
Like it was supposed to, like they were just like just hitting the same spot over and over again, and it didn't make any sense. It
Well,
wasn't
they were
actually real
bedding in
work.
nows, but you're right. The representation of work wasn't entirely clear what they were doing, other than
Yeah, they were just
you
like
kind of got
busy
the
in the
feeling they were
background
hitting the
almost.
nows into the
Yeah, but it made no
ground.
sense, right? Because they had already laid everything, so it was like we're not really what we're doing. So I just wish that they had shown how grueling the work was. Like they showed it on like the characters' faces, and they talk about how crap the work is, obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I would have just preferred, I think, to them spend a little bit more time on that because I think it would have helped the cause for what happens later to be like, yeah, man, these guys have really got it rough.
yeah. There is a little tell rather than show going on, and that happens in a
Yes.
few spots, which
Yeah.
is budget. I imagine. You
Yeah,
got
because
to
there's
make these
budget coming
shows
out of this.
fairly quickly, and it's like we're trying to convey, but in the end, it's the actors sort of saying, "This food's terrible," and the
Yeah.
old ones keep dying of cold, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, uh, right in in this milieu of stuff happening in, like, let's say current. I know it's there's these Kane thinking these constant flashbacks about the temple, which is kind of fascinating because we're basically getting two quite distinct stories here of him growing up as an orphan, being looked after by the monks, clearly really happy around Master Poe, and Master Poe really likes him as well. Um, but also other teachers sort of teaching him their stuff. But we see him doing a lot things like sweeping over and over, which Karate Kid, isn't it? So wax on, wax off.
Hmm.
A
Yep.
lot of that sort of stuff. So working hard while he's working hard on the railway. So what's happening in the while he's working on the railway is reminding him of when he was a boy having to work as part of his training. His early days of his training, and
Yep.
essentially as the first story, the railway story progresses, we're seeing Kane go from a boy to a young man to actually being able to snatch the pebble from the hand, and then you are now free to go. Uh, uh, and it's kind of cool, isn't it? Because we never spend too long on one or the other. Having said that, I think the show spent, I'd say more than half of it was flashback. Would you? It felt like it.
Yeah. It
There
did
was a
feel like it.
lot. There was
I
a
feel
lot.
like I don't know if they'd yeah, I know I've not seen the rest of the show. I don't know if that becomes a staple. Like you said, you mentioned that it is that
Oh,
there's
it
a lot of
definitely is.
flashbacks.
It definitely
I
is.
just wonder, yeah, if it's that heavy
No,
every
it,
episode, I can't
yeah,
imagine it,
no, it
right? Like,
isn't that heavy episode. It's
yeah,
just there's one or two scenes per episode
yes,
um,
I think it was
that
a good
are
first episode. Like, it
relate to
helped us.
whatever the current conundrum that Kane's dealing with. Is helping.
Yeah,
This
it was
person
cool.
or that person, and being informed by his teachers. It is kind of it was. It makes it so open ended too, because whatever he faces, oh yeah, we could do it. Write a scene where Master Poe talks about this or Master Can talks about this, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's very clever. I liked it.
and they are usually the flashbacks are of him as a boy, not as a young man. So it's very centric on him as the boy, right?
Right,
Which kind of works
right.
because that actor would have been getting a little older as the shows go on. But that
Mm,
works with the show, doesn't it? Because he would have been
yeah,
getting older in the temple, right?
yeah. You wouldn't have had any Stranger Things issues with this show.
Yes, no,
You'd be
no,
fine.
it would have been fine. Other than they have to keep shaving his head or put him in a bald wig, a bald a skull cap.
Mm,
So yeah, and we get a lot of like philosophizing as well, and peace and the meaning of life and destiny and stuff like that. But also that happens a lot in the railroad story when he's talking to the other Chinese men in there. They're sort of saying, "How is life?" They're talking about destiny and whether you can actually change your destiny and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, you mentioned it was a bit slow. This was very 70s in terms of that. Shows
yeah,
were a lot slower back then. And, you put up with it because there wasn't any alternative and you kind of just got used to it. And I think it developed your attention span. There's nothing finer for developing someone's attention span than having absolutely nothing to do other than watch three possible channels, right? Or read a book or something.
yeah,
When there's not many distractions, you are become much more patient with what you got, right?
yeah. I mean, honestly, it just again, I'm gonna keep harping back to it, but it just reminded me of watching westerns with my dad.
Yeah,
As a boy, I was wanting to, watch cartoons or watch Spider-Man or whatever it was. But then, Dad would put on uh, a western movie, and then you would learn to listen to what they're talking about.
yeah.
Right,
They
you'd stop.
appreciate it for
There'd
different
be,
things, right?
yeah, you just start to listen. Right, I've got nothing else to, Dad won't let me change the channel. I'm gonna just watch
I
what's
either
on the
watch
telly,
this or I
right?
don't do anything. Yeah,
Yeah, and you like you said, you could then start to listen to the conversation, and you're like, oh, they're actually talking about somewhat interesting things. And then, then you appreciate the action a little bit more when it does come up. And then you're like, so yeah, this reminded me very much of that, of just, there was no, it was slow, but it wasn't meaninglessly slow, if that makes sense.
no, you were finding out about these men in the camp and how desperate it
Yeah.
was.
The
And
story was
there were
progressive.
different people in the camp. Some were quite reverential to. Like there's one scene where they're all kind of working together, and one's complaining that this guy never talks. Kane never talks. He goes, "You never say newcomer. You never say anything." And he says, "When your
Yeah.
words mean, it's something like when your words." Less than silence, it is better to stay silent. I was
Yeah,
like,
so yeah, pretty much.
and but there is one bit where a wagon comes in, bringing in more men, and they said, "Why so many men?" He goes, "Oh, because of we've left so
Place of
many
the dead.
behind on the trail." Suggesting people
Mhm.
that. But a kind of box, one of the crates almost falls off the wagon, and Kane stops it. He basically, but what that does is he exposes his. They're not tattoos, but they're burns, right? Pattern
Mhm.
burns of the tiger and the dragon on his arms. And as soon as the other Chinese men see this, they kind of fall silent and they all stand back and they all bow to him and he
Yeah.
bows back. So they know, you know, he's a Shaolin monk and they're
Yeah.
showing him respect. But then it's immediately, well, what's the Shaolin monk doing here?
Hmm.
And one goes and sort of sells that info to the boss, doesn't he?
What? notice young James Hong.
James Hong, yes, great in
Yeah.
it. Love him.
I was like, oh, pointing at the screen, there he is.
Yeah, he does appear in the show several times as different characters.
Oh
Right.
right, okay. Yeah.
He got a bit of work out of this. Let's put it that way. Um,
Nice, nice.
but that was common back. You know, that doesn't quite sound as bad as you'd think. That was kind of common back then. You'd see the same people turn up in the show as a different character. Star Trek did it, for example. There's a few people that turn up again and again. Things like that. So yeah, James. It's good to see James Hong though, right? Really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Made me happy. A big smile on my face as soon as he see James Hong.
Yeah, legend.
But essentially, the boss, this is a bit weird, and he gets onto the Chinese consulate, and they find out, oh yeah, this guy's wanted for murder, right? So
Yep.
that leads on, and in the show to come, he actually gets on the traditional, wanted posters from the old west, with
Yeah.
the pictures of his tattoos, and then bounty hunters come for him and stuff like that in the actual show,
Nice.
the TV series. So that does develop, because I don't think they knew where he was, but this what happens in this episode, this pilot lets the Chinese authorities know that, oh yeah, Kane is in America for sure, right?
Well, they say at the end of this episode again, like the Shaolin monk that comes to hunt him down.
Yeah, who I
He
believe has probably been
says,
sent by the Emperor. I
yes,
reckon.
he says, we've known you've been in America for a long time. We just didn't know when in
Oh,
America's a big
okay.
place.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like Kane's disguise. He goes, you sold yourself for a bowl of rice," and he's like, "It was more than a bowl of rice."
Which
um,
again, I'm like, come on.
yeah, that made me laugh. But that's
Yeah.
the only point I think Kane actually shows much emotion, apart from
His interactions with Poe, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, apart from his what happens to the old fella, who has brought into the camp near the end, but he doesn't show that
Forgot
much
about that.
emotions otherwise, does he? So yeah. Right, so yeah, so he's working there, but they're being well dodgy. The bloke doing the surveying says, "Hold on, the rocks ahead are shallow, which means that it could be natural gas in there. So we need to do a proper geologic study." And the chief's like, "Well, what's that mean? What's that going to do?" He goes, "Set us back about 3 months." And he's like, "Well, that ain't going to happen." Um, and the bloke's like, "I'm telling the office, we can't just. This is dangerous.
Yeah, it's people's lives on the line,
People's
right?
lives."
It's crazy.
Um, and we do get a scene where in the middle of the camp they start arguing, and everyone witnesses, including the sort of Kane and the other Chinese workers. Where this guy's going, "I've sent another survey to head office, or I'm going to," and if something happens, it'll be you that's going to be hung out to dry and all this. And then he goes
Yeah.
off with some other dodgy blokes that work for the big cheese, comes back dead.
Accident.
And it's like,
Made
it's
me
an
laugh.
accident. And,
The
it's like,
cigarette in his mouth.
and he's like, and they're like, "Well, what happened?" And he's like, "Get a shovel." Uh,
Yeah.
just bury him. And
It's a bit too
Kane,
real, isn't it? It's a bit too real. You
yeah.
can definitely see CEOs of 2026 doing the same
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
It's too real,
All
man.
day, man.
Yeah.
But they do bury him, and Kane actually, everyone goes off to work, but Kane stays there and sort of stays by the grave and scatters some like herbs on the grave. And the dodgy bloke who's like an
Who
underling
was
of it,
excellent, by the way. I don't know
yeah,
the
he was
actor's name, but
really
he was
skeevy.
awesome. I love
Yeah,
this guy.
he was really good. He said very little. He felt like a character out of a spaghetti western, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. I
Because
loved
he
it.
just did not give a crap. And he's
Yeah.
like,
Want to say a few
"Do you
words,
want to say a
priest?
few words?
With his
We
big
know, I know
shotgun.
you're a priest and all this kind of stuff." And
Yeah.
Kane just carries on. Anyway, it sort of precipitates in that they realise, well, Kane is wanted for murder and he's got a price on his head, so they tie him up. Um,
Yeah,
And while
yeah,
he's
they'll
tied up,
protect you.
he's like doing his flashback things and stuff like that. But then one of the lights goes out, and well, the guy lights it and turns around immediately. Kane's gone. The ropes are on the floor. Kane is gone. He's just disappeared. And again, and trying to apologise. And then we see him going to the sort of into the Badlands. And basically dig a pit and make himself a hide, and it's really
Well,
good one. You could not see it until he comes out. Right? I
hang on,
could.
you've skipped quite a major plot
Oh,
point.
have I? Go on then. Ah,
So a major plot point is that so he goes ahead with after the engineer is dead, he goes ahead with the blasting of this area, and it does explode, and a whole bunch of Chinese workers get killed in the
yes,
explosion.
yes,
And
yes.
one of the Chinese workers is like, "We can't be doing this. This is crazy. We're human beings. Like we should fight back."
And Kane won't have it, will
Kate
he?
convinces them not to. He's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, it's
but
better to
he
walk
tries
away."
to no, but he goes ahead, doesn't he? But
And then he gets shot,
he
right, and
gets
dies. And
shot.
he says, "Look, it's better for one of us to die than all of us. Like a stupid man
Yeah,
fights a fight you can't win. So
yeah.
let's walk away." And
Then they tie him up.
then they go, "You saved all their lives. That's great, but we know you're wanted for murder, so you're under arrest."
Yeah, you're under arrest.
And then he gets captured, and then he escapes,
Escapes, and
and
he
then he
he
makes his
makes
little.
himself this awesome hide. And meanwhile, the henchman is like, Leave it to me. I'll go get him." And it's like, "Are you sure? A man who can walk through
Yeah.
walls?"
So yeah, I wanted to talk to you about this. So so they know he's wanted for murder. He's from China, right?
Yeah.
And like again, it's like the uh, again, Rambo's not been made yet, right?
No,
but it's just like Rambo, where he's
it is
like
like First Blood. They're
it's
carrying out.
just like First Blood, right? Where the guy's like, so I need you to, are you sure I can go out and kill him? And he's like, are you sure? He's a ghost. He's a man. He's been trained. And I'm like, hang on a minute. How do you know he's capable? Like to the foreman.
I guess because he's murdered someone and he's a Shaolin monk, so he's
But they
like,
don't know he's a Shaolin monk, do they?
yeah,
They
that's
know
true.
he's some kind of
Yeah.
priest as far as they're concerned, right?
Yeah, because we haven't actually seen him try and do any moves. They
He's
don't
done
aren't
nothing, yeah.
aware of his kung fu
They
skills,
just
are they?
know that he's respected, right? And then yeah, he
It would
goes
have
on this
made,
tirade
it
where he's
would have
like he's a
made
ghost.
way more sense if we'd seen him have a fight and then witness it and know what he's
Yeah,
capable of,
but they're
right?
like they're scared of him. They're like, oh, he can move without making a sound.
Yeah.
Like he can move through
Oh yeah.
walls. He's like a
Yeah.
ghost. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is he? How did what? Where's this fear come
But
from?
I do like the henchman does not give a shit,
Yeah,
right?
he's like, oh well, nine
Yeah.
inches of steel doesn't care about
Yeah.
magic.
And he
Like he's
goes,
that kind
just
of
give me two men. And him
yeah.
and two men go out into the wilds, but the horses get sort of jittery and they think
Spook.
they've found him, right? They think he's in a hide and they
They
basically
find his hide.
unload
Yeah.
into the hide, don't they? As far as we're concerned, the audience, we think he's in the hide too. So they're just unloading these guns. And suddenly, Kane
It's
comes
ridiculous.
up from above them and they just look around and we see him just jump and leap at them in a really cool shot.
Yeah, it's just
And it cuts. And the next thing we see is three riderless horses gallop back into camp, right? And they're all dead. So they cheaped out on showing us any kind of fight, right?
yeah,
But I have to say, I did laugh because it
yeah,
was
same,
such an amazing
same.
sort of jump cut from him just leaping at, and that leap was amazing too.
Yeah, it was a
And I
good
have to
shot of
say, he
him
was wearing a
jumping.
different outfit. Did you notice he was wearing almost like a gi, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
a black one rather than his worker outfit. So it was like, I'm a warrior now, right? I'm a warrior.
yeah. He's turned into John
And
Rambo. He's hunting the
also,
hunters.
what made me laugh is he's been so passive for the whole show up to this point. Even the fight in the bar, he didn't show any emotions. But the look of happiness or joy on his face as he leaps towards them,
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
whoa!
This is what I'm talking about. There's an absolute insane man hidden underneath the monk.
Yeah, psycho. So
But
yeah,
hang on,
we
oh, we've
don't see
missed.
them again. That's it. He's
That's
done them.
it.
Right? He's
Yeah.
done them.
So it's implied that he kills, which again is crazy.
Yeah. Um.
But what else is funny about that, right? Is that I think it's the scene just before they hunt him, right?
Oh yeah.
He's
I'd
disappeared,
forgotten.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's escaped capture, and they're like, "Oh, he's in the desert. Like he'll last like 3 or 4 days
Nice.
tops, and then he'll run out of food, or he'll come back to us. Like he's dead man essentially. There's nowhere to
Yeah.
run in the desert, right? Not little do they know, he's all happy as Larry, drinking
Whatever.
water from like a root he's found in the sand or something.
Yeah. He's very
A
resourceful.
delivery of more dynamite arrives.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, do you think there's any more gas?" And he's like, "Well, we'll find out tomorrow." All right.
Yeah.
And they're loading on these dynamite crates. And he's like, "Where do you want them?" He's like, "Way over there." Which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah.
And then they're all just having a chat. And then the massive explosion goes off.
Yeah, all the dynamite goes up in one.
All the
right?
dynamite goes up, right? And
And
everyone's sort
to
of
be
looking at each
honest,
other.
it wasn't a very big explosion, but they
It's
made
pretty cool though. I thought it was
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
But the thing is, it's film, right? For TV budget, they can't do a massive explosion.
Yeah,
but they
did a
did
big
enough
zoomed in
to
slow-mo.
they do enough to make it reasonably convincing based on how the actors react, right? So
Yeah.
fine.
So does this
They
explosion.
immediately assume it's Cade, right?
Right?
They don't even
Right?
talk
It
about
doesn't
it.
make
It's
any
like,
sense.
how did he do that?
Yeah, they're like, he's still out there. Like, what? What? What do you
TV
mean?
shortcut. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
For budget or they do these shortcuts. But having said that, I'm totally happy with that because the amount of detail they spent on, say, the Shaolin Temple scenes,
Yes.
and the cool
I
stuff like that, right? I get
100%.
it. Yeah,
It's just really funny because, like you said, we have seen nothing from this guy as far as like the Western Frontier guys are concerned, right? He's just a dude.
yeah,
They've not seen him do anything dangerous, anything to suggest he's capable of anything. And then, like, he escapes and suddenly he's sabotaging stuff. And then they need to hunt him, but he's really dangerous. So we're not sure if we can hunt him. And it's like, what? Where's this Rambo narrative come
yeah,
from?
yeah.
It was really weird. But it was, it's different. If they had seen him do stuff like this, or someone had told him, man, that guy's crazy. And they didn't believe him, but then suddenly their stuff starts blowing up. Maybe they're starting to believe, right? But they instantly just assume the guy who's done nothing is like the culprit of all this crazy stuff. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
Of course, he is.
Yes.
He's a psycho.
Yeah. So basically, these three horses turn up, and the boss is like, well, okay.
Well, they're dead, and he
Yeah.
moves on.
Yeah, it just moves on. And the next thing is he's got the old Kane's friend, the old one who introduced him, staked out like on a cross kind of thing. Not nailed, but tied to a cross beam of a row board. And he's saying, Kane, the boys are really mad. They've staked out your friend. You better. I want you to come into the light while I've got half a chance, but if you leave it till night, there's no telling what they're going to do.
And do you know what would have been really funny? If Kane had gone into the desert and he'd just walked for miles, the explosion was an accident. The three guys who ran off the horses, their horses just got let loose while they were sleeping. And this guy's just talking to the desert. Like, I'm like, what are you doing?
How do you know all this?
Like, how does he know he's out there?
It's
This
possible.
doesn't make any
It's possible.
sense.
It's possible. But Kane does turn up as immediately, pretty much immediately,
Instantly.
because his friend's under threat. And this time they manacle him with still handcuffs.
Can we just say as well, though, the implication that when he's talking, he's not particularly loud. He's shouting, right? But he's not particularly loud, considering they're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah,
The
and it's
implication
windy.
and it's really windy, right? The implication that Kane is essentially infiltrating the camp at all times. Like he's just in
It's
there.
like a ninja. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
he's
just
just
pops up.
essentially a
Would have
ghost
been
ninja.
even funny if it had just popped up behind him. I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, or
um,
come out of the crowd of workers or something.
yeah. Um, so
Anyway,
yeah, they caught him and they said, "Yeah, you're worth money to us, so we're having you, and all this kind of stuff." And they're basically forcing the men to go through with this dangerous sort of digging and work.
blasting the tunnel, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I can't remember exactly what happens. But Kane is handcuffed in the middle of, this tent to a massive post, right?
That's
So
right.
he's not getting out of this apparently, right?
Hmm.
Um, um, and he's saying, look, he just goes, "Let the old man go," and
Yeah.
the guy's like, "No, he's insurance." And essentially, I can't remember how, but they get distracted, right? I can't remember exactly what happens.
Well,
Uh,
the old man's trying to escape. They get
oh
distracted
yeah,
by
the old
that.
man's trying to escape and it gets shot, which also precipitates a major flashback for Kane, an old man being shot, because we then get the scene where Master Poe, who's talked about this through the episode, like, I've got one ambition. A monk shouldn't have any ambitions because you can't, you can't be truly free. But he's got one ambition to go to the Forbidden City on a certain day, and that's all he wanted to do. But Kane, who's got his monk, he's not a Padawan anymore, kind of thing,
Hmm.
actually goes specifically to meet Poe without Poe knowing about it. But immediately Poe, hello, grasshopper. So,
Yeah, that was good. I like that. Yeah, that was
yeah,
funny.
that's funny. But old grasshopper's fine with it. He's like, he just smiles and says, "I wanted to help celebrate your one ambition," which is a lovely line. But as they're talking, some dickheads, the Emperor's nephew or whatever it is, turn up and start pushing people out of the way, including Poe, who then reacts when they try and push him a second time, which
Yeah,
then
which
means
we
the
talked about.
Emperor's
Yeah.
nephew just shoots him in the gut, just gut shots him, um, which totally enrages Kane, who takes one of the spears or the glaive or whatever from the guard who's been knocked out, kind of thing, and just throws it through the chair. And this guy's hiding behind the chair to reload his gun. He was probably going to shoot Kane as well, right? So he kills him there, and that's how the murder happens. But the old man being shot reminds Kane of his friend Master Poe being shot, and he gets
Yeah.
quite upset, and he literally pulls the stake out of the ground.
He hulks out. Yeah, he hulks out.
And then starts fighting people with this post, like Mr. Bean style, just hitting them with this post, and then just breaks it in half, and then just pulls the handcuffs, just literally pulls them apart, so he's
Yeah.
not constrained anymore. And then we find out the big boss. Everyone's left, right? Everyone's pissed off that he's, would be his gunman, and all he's got is him and all these Chinese workers who have also got guns now. So
Hmm.
it's like, whoops. um, anyway, all these Chinese workers start celebrating by eating all the food, right?
Yeah.
They're like loving it. They're eating all this food. They've got a whole pig on a spear from somewhere.
Yep.
So
Back on track.
Kay's just sleeping, just like lying down. But then, also the big boss had mentioned someone's coming from the Chinese sort of embassy to fetch you. With
Yeah,
it.
they actually didn't tell the audience, right? He walks into like a room and he drops a ticket on the floor, and you have to read the ticket yourself that says that
Yes,
he's told the Chinese embassy, and that to
that's
expect an
right. You
agent.
are
And I thought
right.
that was, I thought, oh, you
That's
don't see
cool.
that in these days.
No, no. Interestingly, there was a date on that as well. It was 1873, which dates
Yeah, which is
this
about right,
show,
right, for
right?
the
So it's a
American West.
hundred years before the pilot, right? Effectively, that's kind of a
Right.
nice touch.
Hmm.
So anyway, these horsemen turn up, and Kane, really unconcerned, just lifts his hat up, and it turns
Who are
out
you?
we've come to take you in, and he's going, "Okay, who are you?" And the guy doesn't answer. He just raises his arms and shows his two tattooy burns, right? Which we haven't talked about yet. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. When Kane finally snatches the pebble, he's passed the test
Hmm.
and he's a full monk. But there's a ritual they have to go through where essentially that to get through a doorway, there's this tub of burning coals.
Mm.
You have to move it to get out the door, and he goes up to it. But there's all these other monks in front of him, and they all raise their arms, and you see the burn marks of the tiger and the dragon on each of their arms, right? So
Yeah.
he knows what he's got to do. They move out of the way. Essentially, he has to pick up a burning hot brazier full of smoking coals, where it's been thinned on each side, so or even a hole. I don't really know, to be honest. One's a dragon and one's a tiger. So he has to put his arms on the side of the brazier, lift it with his forearms, and move it out of the way, and then he can go out, which burns these scars into his arms. Cool scene, right?
Yeah,
Cool
it's
scene.
wicked. It's really
I've
good.
never forgotten that scene. In fact, this whole episode's been very, I remember most of this. I'll be honest,
Nice.
from decades ago. And then he goes out into the snow. There's snowing outside, so he kind of rests his burnt arms in the snow. Um, I'd be very glad of snow if that were me, frankly. Wow, that must hurt. That must sting a bit, right?
A bit.
A bit. There's a twinge.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so this guy raises it and shows he's so he is a Shaolin monk too, and this is where Kane's like gets a bit pissed off, right? He says, "You sold out. You sold yourself for a bowl of rice, a Shaolin monk," and he's just like, "It's a bit more than a bowl." Um, and then, but it's very ritualistic, and this is probably the most unrealistic bit of it. They go for a full ritual. They go into little tents each and get all their clothes, their outfits out. And Kane's got this cool gold one with like a hand motif on the back, and the other guy's got a black like a gi. I don't want. I love to call it a gi because that's Japanese, isn't it? But it's
Mm.
like a gi with a snake on the back,
Yeah.
like Cobra Kai kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
it
they
looks
also
like a
shave their
villain one,
heads.
right?
They shave their heads. Both of them shave their heads, don't they?
Yeah.
And then we have a kung fu fight where we see a bit of kung fu, but there's a lot of editing. There's a
It's
lot of it.
terrible choreography. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost like non-existent.
Basically, David Carradine didn't know kung fu at this point, so and I assume the other fella might have, you know.
Yeah, it's the sort
Um,
of scene, right, that would have kicked ass if it was Bruce Lee. It
yeah,
would be like the rest of the show was terrible, but that remember that one fight scene at
yeah.
the end? That's like the kind of thing that they were going for.
Yeah,
But the
they
fight
wanted the
scene
end
was
of Way of the Dragon, right? But we
yeah,
ended up. I mean, I was watching. I think Bruce Lee would take both of these out in about a second. Uh, um, but yeah, I mean, you got the vibe, right? You got the vibe. It kind
it
of
was
looked
no Bruce
cool.
versus Chuck.
My feeling as I was watching is like, you know what? If you saw a still picture of this, it looked cool, right? That's all I was thinking.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I didn't contextually, I didn't understand it very well. Like they'd come to arrest him and again, instead of being like, well, yeah, you got me, right? I did kill someone. Um,
Yeah, instead of pulling a gun out and taking them in, it's like, let's have a ritual fight.
let's have a
But they didn't
ritualistic fight.
say anything like that. If they'd have at
Yeah,
least say it, you have the honor, as you're a Shaolin monk, you have the honor, you have the
yeah, something like
right
that.
of combat or anything really.
Anything that like
Uh,
he doesn't just come with them. He's like, no, then they just fight to the death, to the death.
to the death.
Like again, like as far as David Carradine's character is concerned, admittedly, I don't know the rules about like taking, mercenary work essentially,
Yeah,
but like. he's just following the law. Like he did kill someone. He's guilty.
Yeah, and
And
he
then he's
killed
like, I'm
someone
gonna
else.
fight. And now he's killed. Now he's killed somebody who's trying to enforce the law. Like, what are we
Yeah, and I
doing?
assume this guy wasn't just doing it for money. I assume he was ordered by the emperor directly.
Yeah. So they try and sort of again. Yeah, you're right. Like they try and frame it in a villainous way. Like the emperor has sent these men to get you, and it's like, yeah, he did kill his son, right?
Oh,
Like
his nephew.
his nephew,
But
right? He
even so,
did this. This actually happened. He did kill his nephew. This is not like allegedly or anything like that. Like, I don't see how the emperor is the bad guy in this scenario. It's like
yeah,
I get that the nephew was being
a dick.
a bit like crazy, right? Like he
Yeah, yeah,
shot the old man. Like we get that, but like I don't understand in what world the emperor is wrong here. Like,
yeah. No, well, he wasn't really.
yeah, it's
Um,
very strange. Yeah, the
but
way
they
they like,
fight to the death,
yeah,
and
they fight
like,
to death. Yeah,
and then one of the remaining Chinese guys like say, "This will be remembered." Uh, And I was thinking, will it though? You're all going to go your separate ways. You're in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to? Anyway, but
yeah.
Kwai Chang Kane's like someone's death is not something to be honoured, or something like that. It's like, yeah, but you did it, mate. But
I
it's like, there's
know.
a bit of that,
He
right?
keeps killing people, and then he
Uh,
comes out with something about like why it was a bad thing. Stop
it,
killing them.
it makes me think of sometimes, in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's the two space cops who are saying, "I don't randomly shoot people just so I can brag about it in bars. Do it so I can agonise about it to my girlfriend at the weekend." It's kind of a bit of that, right? But
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and show ends, and we get the closing credits, and we see Kane wandering the desert again. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Again, I don't mean to bring up Rambo, but I keep bringing him up because
it
there is
is
somewhat
very Rambo.
parallels.
I mean, First Blood could have
It's
been
very
based
First
on
Blood. Like
this, right?
I think, I think right. There's again, it was for the film. In the book, Rambo kills everyone, but in the film, they they changed it, right? So he doesn't kill the state troops. He tries not to,
Yeah,
right? Except that one dickhead who falls out the helicopter.
yeah,
And in the book, he kills them all, right? But in the film, they try and make it so that he doesn't kill them all. And there's like that moment where he's like Troutman's telling him like, "You messed all those boys up," and he's like, "They'll live," right?
yeah.
He actively knows he wasn't trying to kill them. I feel like they could have done something like that with Kane's character, where like he's defending himself, right? He doesn't want to get caught. He doesn't want to get arrested. But like he doesn't need to kill the guy. Like they could have shown him like he's a master of martial arts. Like he doesn't even need.
Control.
He can
Yeah.
just incapacitate him. He goes for the killing blow. Like the dude's stumbling around and he like chops his head and his like ears
Yeah.
explode. Like I'm
I have
like,
to say, there
whoa.
was a bit of fighting near the end where I was thinking, this is Kirk Fu, not Kung Fu.
Yeah, yeah,
Where he does the
yeah.
double chop on the neck.
Double
That's like,
chop on the
that's
neck.
straight out of William Shatner moves, that is.
Yeah, it's great.
So, yes. I mean, it was fun. It was kind of fun, the final fight, but it was all in the edit. It wasn't in the real fight. I mean, there was a couple of times they were actually fighting, but they were clearly not. It wasn't David Carradine, for sure. You could tell.
Yeah, I feel like me and you could do that with a bit of editing. We would get a similar result,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
However, right, so that got to the end.
Yeah.
Enjoyable, I thought. Very
Yeah, I had a great
enjoyable.
time. I had a great
It
time.
did
I love
stand
the
up for me.
cheesiness.
Yeah.
I love the
I
cheesiness. It felt like
I
a
think there was
western.
a lot of really good stuff in this in terms of the flashbacks was really cool and the scenes, in terms of both the set design and the actual written work and the acting. I thought it was all good. Master Poe is a very you won't forget that character, will you? Do you
No,
know what I mean?
no, yeah, yeah,
It's a really well conveyed. And I also thought the guy playing young Kane, Ramades Pera, was very solid, very solid. And as I said, when you start watching the series, there are flashbacks, one or two in each, or maybe just even one per show, and it's almost always the young actor as Kane in that. So they
hmm
differentiate quite nicely. They've already
yeah,
established him as that guy.
yeah.
Um,
I think this show does well. At least the pilot has done a really good job of the student teacher relationship
Yes,
and how that affects someone. You know, like going through discipline and like learning discipline, like and how that affects someone in like older life. I think it's such they've done that a really good job, and you see that things like Karate Kid definitely watched this, right? And they definitely use things from this in the way that they told that story. And I feel like a lot of teacher student things that happen, you know, shows and movies. I feel like a lot of people have seen this. And again, you know, in the Tarantino references to kung fu, you know, yeah, it's in there with his this Kill Bill character. What was it? Pai Mei or something he calls him.
I can't
Got the
remember.
swishy whoosh. He's
Yeah,
got the mustache.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's reasonably remember. I mean, it's getting old now. It's kind of starting to be lost from living memory in terms of people watching it when it was aired. I'm one of them, but you know, soon it won't be in living memory of watching it for the first time.
yeah,
For
that's
most,
interesting actually. I wonder if I said to someone, "Can you snatch this pebble from my hand?"
if they'd
Right. I
know
remember
the
my
ref.
dad doing that to me when I was a kid. I wonder if like yeah, I wonder how long that will stay in the zeitgeist. Maybe not at all. Maybe it will go.
Yeah, I had a trick for that. If someone said it to me at school,
Yeah.
I'd say, okay, hold still, and then just slap underneath their hand so it throw it in the air. So then I grab it.
Yeah. That's why you're Han Solo and not Obi-Wan.
Yes, that's right. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I just straight up enjoyed it, and I kind of think I might actually start watching the series at some point soon.
Nice.
Just to refer, there's certain things in the series that are really iconic that are not in the pilot, but because the music is one, the fact he plays a flute as he's
Mhm.
wandering is another, and things like that, right?
Yeah.
But
I Oh, go
otherwise,
on.
it's very similar. It doesn't feel that different. It's not like a radically different pilot, feel to the series compared to the pilot.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always an interesting thing,
Yeah,
like when
it's
they
because
make
we get a lot of
changes.
Master Poe and young Kwai Chang Kane in the series, and that's sort of, Master Poe is kind of elite, really, frankly.
Mm.
If you've got him as a character, keep him in your show, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, enjoyed it. How about you? You got a lot out of it, do you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked the Western aspect of it. I enjoyed the story it told. It was fun. There was some great actors in it. There was some dubious actors in it, but whatever. But it was fun. And it was an enjoyable watch. It was, a little bit silly, and that was fine. It was tonally, it wasn't weird. It wasn't out of place. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
think,
sort of. I mean, we Star Trek's our main jam, and more modern shows is also our main jam. But it's nice to. I mean, we've done The Prisoner, which is even older than this, right? But
yeah,
I'm gonna sort of cherry pick some of these older shows as well as what we're doing now,
yeah,
and
I'm
some more
enjoying
recent
it.
shows. I've got some more recent shows I want to get to at some point soon as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. I
So,
will say I was disappointed by the martial arts, right? Like I'm
mm.
spoilt, right? I was born with, like I was shown the way of the dragon and Enter the Dragon, skipping all the bits that weren't appropriate.
Or
Uh,
boring, frankly. Some
whoa,
of those,
wait, wait. Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
no,
I know,
some of
I know.
those Chinese Bruce Lee films are quite boring
Yeah,
until you get to
the
the fighting. But the fighting's awesome. The fighting is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I was spoilt with all that stuff. Dad showed me a lot of awesome martial arts stuff.
Yeah.
And so yeah, this was disappointing in that respect, but
Oh yeah. There was no real kung fu in this,
no.
except when it wasn't David Carradine. It was demoing, people from the temple. That was
But
fine.
yeah, I will say, like going away from this, I might have a look at some Shaolin stuff and try and find out a bit more about what they were and who they were. Because yeah, talking to you about it today is like, yeah, actually, I don't actually know all that much about that culture. So
Yeah, there was two
yeah,
main schools, I believe, Shaolin and Wu Tang. if I
Right.
remember rightly. So, and then there were splinter ones like that, which tried to develop martial arts to fight those styles as well, things like that. So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Interesting.
Okay, let's kind of wind it up. Do you want to lead us out for this?
Yeah, I like how you like slowly. Yes. Old man, how is it you hear these things?
Young man, how is it that you do not?